Can you actually understand what makes someone a genius? Not the movie version, not the disheveled professor scribbling equations on a napkin at 3 a.m. The real thing? Let's find out. Most people assume genius is just a really high IQ score. It's not. IQ measures a narrow slice of cognitive ability. Genius, real genius, is what happens when that slice meets about 15 other things firing at once. Harvard psychologist Howard Gardner spent decades arguing that human intelligence isn't one thing. It's at least 8 distinct systems: linguistic, logical, musical, spatial, kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, naturalistic. The person who can't solve a math problem to save their life might be mapping the emotional undercurrents of every room they walk into with terrifying precision. That's not stupidity, that's a different kind of genius entirely. So what does separate the genuinely exceptional from everyone else? The first thing is divergent thinking. Most people think in straight lines. A leads to B, B leads to C. Geniuses think in webs. A 1992 study published in the journal Creativity Research found that highly creative individuals generate significantly more unconventional associations than average thinkers. Not because they try to, but because their brains literally have weaker inhibition filters. They can't stop making connections, which sounds exhausting, because it is. The second thing is something researchers call hyperfocus. Not concentration, not discipline. Something closer to obsession with the volume turned all the way up. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, psychologist, legendary name, spent 30 years studying peak performance. His research identified what he called flow states, periods of such complete absorption that time distorts, self-consciousness disappears, and output quality spikes dramatically. Geniuses don't just enter flow occasionally, they live there. Einstein reportedly forgot to eat for days when working on a problem. Darwin kept a 40-year notebook of observations. Feynman, the physicist, once spent hours staring at a plate of ants just to understand how they navigated. Not because they were eccentric, because they genuinely couldn't look away. The third factor is the one nobody wants to talk about. Failure tolerance. Research from Stanford's psychology department, Carol Dweck's now famous growth mindset studies, found that individuals who treat failure as information rather than verdict dramatically outperform those who treat it as identity. Geniuses fail constantly. Edison filed over 1,000 patents. Most of them were terrible. Darwin's early notebooks are full of theories he later demolished himself. Beethoven's early compositions were, by his own assessment, disasters. The difference isn't that they failed less, it's that failure didn't end the story for them. It was just data. Now here's where it gets genuinely interesting, because none of these traits, divergent thinking, hyperfocus, failure tolerance, are exclusively innate. A 2013 meta-analysis in Psychological Bulletin reviewed over 88 studies on deliberate practice and found that focused intentional skill development accounts for a significant portion of elite performance across domains. You are not simply born a genius or not a genius. You are born with certain tendencies, and then you either build the habits that activate them or you don't. The environment matters too, enormously. Researchers at the University of Michigan found that creative output correlates strongly with exposure to diverse ideas, cultures, and disciplines, particularly during developmental years. Da Vinci grew up surrounded by artists, architects, and engineers. He didn't just absorb one tradition, he collided them. Musk built companies at the intersection of finance, software, aerospace, and energy, fields that had never spoken to each other before he made them. The genius move wasn't just being smart, it was refusing to stay in one lane. So what does this actually mean for you? It means the question isn't whether you have genius-level intelligence. The more interesting question is, which kind, in which domain, and what habits are either activating or suppressing it right now? Because the research is fairly clear on one thing. Exceptional ability, in any form, is less about what you were handed at birth and more about what you refuse to stop paying attention to. If this made you think differently about intelligence, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're the kind of person who can't stop reading, researching, and connecting ideas at midnight, you already know what kind of mind you have. Protect your curiosity